Hey, welcome into another video. My name is Hayden Bowles over with Ecom Season, the best in the business for e-commerce, as well as Bowles Capital for the real estate. This is a short intro before you're gonna get to see a 40-minute video sitting down with my good friend Tim Bratz, who owns about $500 million worth of commercial real estate, specifically 4,800 units of rental real estate, office buildings, multifamily apartments, all sorts of really cool stuff. We actually just bought a 463-acre private island together. So you're gonna get to see a lot of cool stuff in this sit down. I don't do a ton of these. I've only done one or two other podcasts, but this is for Tim's show called Spill the Beans. I will leave his information down below so you can give him a follow. He always leads with a ton of value on social media. But I talk about my entire e-commerce journey, how I lost $1 million in a 6-month window when I was 20 years old, how I built a $5 million real estate portfolio, and what the next 2 to 3 years looks like. Also, if you're an accredited investor, the last 3 minutes of this video, we talk about my new 48-unit property that I'm purchasing, where accredited investors can partner with me as a limited partner in the deal, bringing capital to the table. We go through a couple of specifics. Tim is actually an investor into that property as well. It's a really nice multifamily value add, good cash flow, a longer term play. So we talk about a whole lot of stuff. I really hope you enjoy this sit down. Again, I don't do a lot of these, but please let me know what you think in the comments down below. Drop me a like. You can follow Tim below, and let's get into it.
Out, you know, you lose a little bit of that FOMO. Hey guys, welcome to an episode of Spill the Beans. Today I'm sitting down with my buddy Hayden Bowles. He's a member of Legacy Family, an e-commerce expert. He dropped out of high school because his e-commerce business was rocking and rolling so much, and has scaled that substantially, and is now investing his profits heavily into real estate. So he's a member of Legacy Family Mastermind. We've gotten to know him pretty well over the course of the past year or so, and he's in town filming some content with Cameron for our new Legacy Wealth Academy. And I'm going to sit down with him, talk some shop, see what he's got going on. You guys are going to love this episode. You don't have a coffee?
I have a water.
You have a water? Cheers.
Cheers.
Welcome to Spill the Beans, bro.
Thank you. No beans in here.
No. Dude, you're in Charleston, filming an episode of
Absolutely.
Legacy Wealth Academy. Appreciate you coming in and being a part of that, man, and love having you part of the Legacy Family Mastermind. Let's give everybody a little bit of background on you. Dude, sure. And you have like a crazy backstory from high school and stuff too, so I'd love to share that.
You want me to get into that?
Yeah. A little bit, right?
For sure. More than happy to. My name's Hayden Bowles. I've been in the e-commerce industry for a little over 6 years, buying real estate for almost 3. Previous to that, I was living in Minnesota with my parents. Typical story, kid not great at school, you know, couldn't really focus, always trying to make money. You know, I had clients paying me, you know, a month in advance for lawn mowing when I was 10. Started stacking some cash. And, dude, I was always trying stuff. I mean, when I was 13, those hoverboards became big, so I tried ordering those in bulk, got scammed, like just always these little things. Eventually figured out what e-commerce was, started making a few bucks around 16, started to pick up nicely. 17 was, okay, a big year. Now we're hitting, you know, some good numbers. And that's when I officially decided to leave school. I was doing online school at the time. I think I told you I was paying somebody to do that for me. So it was the best outsourcing. And I mean, dude, 60 bucks a week, but it freed up like 4 hours a day. Yeah. It's huge. But at the time when I first hired them, I was only making like $1,500 a month. Yeah. So it was like a huge chunk of like what I was, you know, making. But I mean, it freed up all the time, and that led to me building the e-commerce stuff pretty quick. So it took like 8 months to kind of figure it out. You know, a couple times where I like lost all my money, going through some courses, just trying to get the hang of it. And popped up like almost a year after I first started, and it was quick. You know, it wasn't quick in that first stage, but it was, you know, 20,000 in a month, then 40, then 70, then 80, and it was just, and then it hung out around there for a while. You know, I was making like 20, 30 net.
When you were 17?
17, yeah. And then I officially, like, you know, the lady who was doing the online school had to quit. And so she was doing whatever, and so I was like, I'm not doing this myself. It was a nightmare to find her, so I told my parents, I was like, look, like, I'm not gonna go back. I failed every class that semester. It was just all Fs across the board. They got it in the mail. And like, okay, like, that's fine. If you're not a student, you just can't live at the house. If you're not a full-time student, that's the rule. Your house, you set the rules, right? You know. And so I was like, okay, so what are we doing here? They're like, well, you know, if you're not a student, you can't live here. You have 2 weeks to leave. And so I don't think it was like a super aggressive, maybe I could have pushed and probably let me stay. But I left on day 13. I shipped my car with everything in it to California. I lived in California for a bit. Everything I owned except my car.
You're 17 years old. Yeah. You move out of your parents' house. Like, who's willing to sign a lease with a 17-year-old?
Nobody. So I moved in with my friend, who 3 days later locks me out of the apartment. All I have is my laptop, the clothes on my back, and my car. So the title to my car is inside, my other computers, like monitors, all my books. That's what I was really upset about.
Why would he lock you out?
Dude, it's crazy. Literally, like, mentally crazy. But anyways, so I went around hotel to hotel until I found an employee there who would sign for the hotel for a couple days. So I paid $700 for 3 nights in a hotel, which to me was like, that's ridiculous.
That's a lot of money.
It's expensive. You know, even now I'm a bargain hunter.
Yeah.
And I was like freaking out, but it's the only thing I could find. So it gave me 3 days, you know, with the roof over my head. And I was making money. I mean, I was probably making 50 grand net by then a month. Like, it was consistent. You know, it was fine. Like, I wasn't worried about that. And in the 3 days in that hotel, I did $72,000 net in 3 days. That's when everything changed for me. That's when I also introduced YouTube. Then I started eventually after that doing a little bit of courses where we've always had like a course for $300 to $500 entry level. Shows people.
So why did everything change at that time? Like,
I was pissed.
So you were pissed. You're like,
I was like,
watch this.
I'm gonna do it. Like, I have to make this work. And I was like growing the business anyways. So that was already my full focus. I was already doing really well, but I just like doubled down. Yeah. I didn't even think that was possible. So I'm grateful for him for doing that, because it really like put me in a spot. You know,
you talk to that guy anymore?
No, not at all. I haven't heard from him. Actually, so that was in Santa Ana, California, which is right outside Orange County. And I actually, one time, like 2 years later, I was in an Airbnb in San Diego, and I'm driving down the road, and I swear to God, I saw him in another car.
Really?
Yeah, I tried. It didn't work. I couldn't catch up.
Turn around, chase him down.
But anyways, so yeah, that was kind of like the forte into it, transitioning out of Minnesota. Fantastic relationship with my parents, by the way, now. Like, and I told them when I was 16, 17, I'm like, it'll be better when I move out. There was a lot of headbutting. Yeah. You know, so, and I get it, like, you know, they're into school. That's fine. Yeah. So I left, I did my thing.
Well, dude, they think that that's the best thing for you at that time. And
for like, sure, which is great.
And I like this dichotomy because, like, you had zero interest in school. I was actually like a really good student. I liked going to school, and I got straight A's. I graduated with a 4.4% or 4.4 GPA.
Wow.
And like all this stuff. And so I guess my point is, like, you know, sometimes it's cool to be anti-school. Sometimes it's cool to be like, go to school, right? And then all of a sudden, like, there's an entire spectrum in between. Yeah. That you could be an entrepreneur and a successful entrepreneur anywhere in between. So because you drop out of school doesn't mean you're not capable of becoming a super successful investor or entrepreneur. At the same time, just because you go to school doesn't mean you have to go work a white-collar job for somebody else for the rest of your life either, you know?
Yeah. And I mean, I've never worked a traditional job, never been an employee, you know, and for me it wasn't like, oh, like I'm cool because I don't like school. It was just like, I just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
It wasn't me. And so I just didn't.
Yeah.
So I looked elsewhere, and thankfully it worked out. Like, I always had extreme confidence. If anything, it took longer than I expected. Yeah. You know, I was always just delusional optimism. And I think that helped me a lot. And so for years, I operated out of fear in my business. Like, I have to make this much every month. It has to be stable, has to be consistent. So, like, you know, it'd be like the 27th, a couple days left in the month, and I'm not where I need to be. So I push really hard or do some big promotion. I hit my numbers every single month for years until I was finally able to say, like, okay, I can like take my foot off the gas a little bit, because it's good to run in that circle month by month with a very narrow focus, but in my opinion, only for a period of time. Then you have to like, okay, what's the bigger picture here? Let's take one step. Let's not think monthly. Let's think by 1 to 3 year time frames. Now for me, it's how do I think in 10-year time frames? You know, just getting a little longer. And so I think as you acquire more capital, that's how you have to do it.
And you see that with the biggest minds out there, like Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk. Is thinking on a 100-year time horizon.
Or longer.
Hundreds of years time horizon, right? Yeah. Like, he's not trying to solve problems for what's happening the next 30 days, the next year even. He's thinking 100 years out or longer. And I think there's something to be said about that, right? When you're just focused on today and how much money can I make today, you can't see outside the box kind of a thing. Like, you're stuck inside of that. You're not thinking more strategically.
I think a lot of people hear that though, and then they try to like just do that, but you have to be in the narrow box for a period of time.
100%.
There's different seasons in your life. You know, I'm in a season right now where income matters, and having the most amount of capital to reinvest and deploy matters the most. Yeah. So because of that, I moved my entire company and my entire personal life got uprooted, and I moved basically out of the country for taxes, just because it helps accelerate that. So it's like, that's not something I'm doing forever. You know, I don't know how long it's going to be, and it's great, but you know, there's different seasons. That's kind of how I see it.
Yeah. So. No, totally, man. I think I think committing to 3 to 5 years for any given activity or any given thing is a great time horizon. I think shorter than that, you're looking at, you know, just kind of jumping from opportunity to opportunity and never really going deep, or not really being able to grow and cultivate something. Yeah. And then at the same time, anything longer than that, you get complacent. You're just kind of hanging out. You're just like get lazy in what you're doing, and it becomes too easy, and you're not moving the needle at all. You're not pushing the envelope.
And your plans change every couple of years. I've noticed that. You know, it's like real estate wasn't really on my horizon when I was 17, 18. It was always business focused first. You know, and then I just tried to look one step bigger. I was like, you know, what for me can be automated, at least to a high degree, and allow me to properly step away from my business activity. If I want to go, you know, do months overseas, which I've done multiple times when I was just doing e-commerce, but I was still working. You know, what's like, okay, if I want to go disconnect, no phone service for a month in Fiji, how do you do that? Like just asking the question doesn't mean I want to do it. Which would be cool, but it's like, how do you start thinking in those terms and structure something? So,
well, one of the things that's a common theme across your story is there's either constraints that were put on you or constraints that you put on yourself. Right? Meaning, hey, you got to get out of the house. All right, now I got to go figure it out and solve this problem. And without that constraint of day 14, you know, you give somebody 30 days to go and do a task, they're going to finish it on day 29 or 30, right? If you give them 7 days, it's going to be done on day 6 or 7. Like, same thing there. Your parents gave you a constraint, and then your buddy kicked you out, or not kicked you out, but locked you out, and then you had a constraint in that 3 days in the hotel room. Then since then, it's okay. Like, the greatest growth I've ever gone through is through those constraints as well.
Absolutely.
Whether they're put on me, which I don't really like because there's no sense of control there.
Less control, yeah.
But eventually, when I realized that I had the most growth from those constraints, I started putting those constraints on myself. How do I create those constraints? And you started doing that on your monthly goals of, I got to hit this number. And on day 27, you start just ramping up to make sure that you hit that. And then same thing with like that island mentality. Hey, if I had to go work from somewhere for 30 days, how do I not have access to a phone, not have access to email, not have access to a pigeon carrier, you know, like nothing that you can communicate with the outside world? How do I still hit my revenue targets, and how do I still meet my long-term goals? Dude, I think that's a great question, and that those constraints lead to those better answers.
Absolutely. And it's like, okay, well then how do I go build that system, and then maybe I don't take advantage of the 30 days? What happens when you have that system and then you're there as well? Can help. Right? So for me, it was all about that speed. And one thing, if you ask my first girlfriend, I would tell her during that period where it was every month, you know, like had to happen, I would consistently tell her, she'd be upset, you know, how much I'm working and this and that. And I always took a little bit of time, but, you know, I could have done better. But for me, I would consistently tell her, I was like, because if I don't make money and if I'm not where I need to be, I will be homeless. I will be on the street. And I meant it. And I meant what I said. Now I had hundreds of thousands in the bank, money that was coming in from 5 different ways, no matter what. If I was in a coma, you know, it would have been there. But that was what I thought, is like, I will be on the street. So I'm not going back home, you know. But realistically looking out, you know, there's a dozen friends I could have gone with. There's every opportunity. So, you know, but that's truly what I convinced myself. I truly convinced myself. And, you know, now I've gotten to take some time off. I did 5 weeks last year in a converted van, hitting like 8 states, going throughout the U.S., and it was fantastic.
I'm like, 7 days. I'm looking at buying one right now.
Dude, you totally should. I mean,
I'm laying in bed with Penelope every night. I was like, you like this one? What about this? I want that kind of kid.
They're so cool, man. They're so cool. And it's like,
I'm not going to move into a full time.
Get out there.
It'd be fun.
Do a weekend.
Yeah,
you know?
Dude, you take weekend trips and
like,
week long.
I did you know, I'm a skydiver. That's one of my few activities. And so I went to an 8-day skydiving festival that was in Montana, off the grid, like no phone service, like properly off the grid. And it was the first time I've ever done that. And I was a little worried. There was a little bit of stuff running in my back.
What did that feel like? So a lot of worry, a lot of concern going into it. Well, once you're there, is it like an itch? Like you're like, I need my phone?
You're very present in the moment, for sure. I did feel, I would feel my phone vibrate, but it wasn't vibrating. It wasn't vibrating. And that actually happened to me one time a couple years prior in Amsterdam. My phone was dead for like 12 hours walking around, and every 30 minutes I feel my phone buzz, but it's dead. It's crazy. It's like wild. It's nuts. Man. But so being off grid, I was like, you know, if I go on a device, because I could go to this bar, which I did once or twice. It was, you know, 20 minutes away on this lake, and you get some Wi-Fi. But both the times I did that, you know, I'm just like responding to an email. It wasn't time pressing. It wasn't make or break. It wasn't anything important, because
you're deleting a bunch of spam messages.
I'd done the setup work before. Like I worked my ass off before because I knew this was about to happen. You know, so I could prepare. So yeah, and that was important to me, to take a little bit of time and like disconnect. And that was in September.
Was that a good recharge, or like coming off of that, were you like, man, this is awesome, I want to create this more in my life, or like this was awesome, but I'm ready to plug back in?
I think it was both. it was about having the option. It's always been about options for me, and and just having that ability to go. You know, when I was 17 in California, as soon as I turned 18, me and a friend, and we brought a videographer with us, all expenses paid. We went to Bali for a month, and Thailand for a month, and Europe, and that was like spontaneous trips. Just where are we going next? Leave the same day, go to a different country.
Yeah.
Like it was, and I've never done that. I've never really been overseas, never done anything like that. And just having the option is the most important thing to me, and it always has been.
Yep.
And so
I'm that same way, dude. That just the ability to have the freedom and the choice, whether I make that decision or not. I could stay at my house here in Charleston, but just knowing that I have the options to be able to jump in the car or jump on a plane or jump on a jet and go anywhere in the world on a moment's notice. That's the thing. There's a peace of mind that comes with that.
It's like people always think, oh, well, you're working so hard, you're worth so many, hundreds of millions, whatever the number is. It's like, why are you still working? Why are you doing this? It's like, well, I enjoy doing this, but it's not about actually doing the crazy adventures and stuff, which you do at some point, but it's just having the option and knowing that that's there and that you're doing what you want to do changes everything. So I'll show you after this. There's an old video on my phone from years ago when I had my place in Newport Beach. It was in the only apartment facility looking over the ocean. Like I'm looking at $20 million, $60 million homes with their yachts in front of it. And I took this video, and the text on it was, my biggest blessing in my life is to create or be in any environment that I desire. And that's like the most important thing, is to create or be in any environment that I desire. Doesn't matter where it is. That could be in the middle of the woods. I don't care. Like it's just about having that environment that I want. And so, and I gave that up a little bit for where I currently live, for a bigger purpose.
Yeah.
So,
but that's to set you up with more freedom in the future, right? There's certain, I don't know if I want to say restrictions, but certain things that you have to forego, sacrifices, I guess. Yeah. In a short-term basis, in order to make those longer-term gains.
And there's pros and cons. Like I got way better at golf because I live in Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
Sweet.
I mean,
maybe a little more tan. Can't tell. But I'm inside most of the time. My fitness took a whole nother level because there's nothing for me to do there really. So I went to the gym 191 days last year.
Wow.
Like I can tell you that exactly because I tracked it all. And I was in Puerto Rico 184 days.
Really?
Basically every day that I was in Puerto Rico, except maybe 10 or 15, I was in the gym. So the other times where I was not in Puerto Rico, it was lacking.
Yeah.
So it's just easier to be focused on certain things there. But a little more stale.
No, totally, man. So all right, so you ramp up the e-commerce side of things, and what are you, 22 now?
22.
22. When did you start looking at real estate? And why did you start looking at real estate?
Yeah, so when I was living in Newport Beach, California, I knew that long term, like it's the most beautiful place, but I probably didn't want to live there or be there. I knew I didn't want to buy real estate there. I was starting to have some cash piling up, when you're making good money every month and 50, 70, 80 grand net, and big tax bills and all this and that. So I was like, okay, let me look elsewhere. A lot of my friends were in Arizona.
How were you managing your money, by the way?
It was all in just one big ass business account.
One big business account.
How personal expenses were coming out of there? Like, dude, it was.
Dude, it's always sloppy at the beginning.
Sure.
So like, how did you learn how to manage money, right? Like, how did you learn not to go and blow it on a bunch of fucking goofy cars or liabilities or stupid stuff? Because, dude, I've met a lot of very, very smart entrepreneurs who are really good at making money in their primary business, and then they're bad at keeping it, and they're even worse at multiplying it.
Bad investors.
Yeah.
That's multiple of my friends. That's cool because, they can make money.
Yeah.
They're in cash-heavy businesses or something. So, for me, I always liked, the idea, like for me, like private jets, awesome. I've been on them twice, both times $0. All these cool cars, I've gotten to rent them and have my friends just let me use them, and it's been great. I've also bought many cars, but I do it in a certain way where I don't really lose money.
Yeah.
I'm not buying it from a dealership. I'm not paying sales tax. I know the price of the cars. Multiple of my friends have huge startups in the automotive space or big advertising agencies for automotive companies.
How do you not pay sales tax?
If you do a private party transaction in certain states, no sales tax. So like when I bought my Lamborghini, no sales tax. The car was worth more than what I paid for it 3 years later.
That is a big deal, man.
Exactly. And so I've done that with multiple cars. I've flipped cars for a profit after beating the hell out of it for a year. And so I've had a lot of cars because that's a passion of mine. I don't care about designer clothes. I've never once purchased anything from any luxury clothing company ever. And so it's not me. And not to say that that's a bad thing. If you like it and you can manage your money, that's great. But I think from a money management perspective, my parents were always pretty frugal, and things were a little tighter when I was younger and then loosened up as I got older. So I kind of saw that, 5 of us in one hotel room and, taking turns who's on the floor. So for me, I saw that, and I never wanted to do that, but I always kept things in check. Even here, like I'm in the cheapest hotel I could find that's in the proximity of where I need to be. It's actually the closest hotel in walking distance to the office that I saw, and it was one of the cheapest.
Yeah.
So I have no need to be in a nicer place. Now I do sometimes.
Yep.
But when I'm alone, it's 3 days of business. I'm not in the hotel. Like, I don't care.
Yep.
I just don't. So
you're
for me,
you're not even in the hotel room right now, right? Like you're out and about seeing the city. You're not with anybody. Like hey, you're just going to put your head down, and you're not pretentious enough to need to stay in the most expensive hotel room by yourself.
Well, I'll tell you, like, buying the cars, if you do it the right way, it can get you access to a different group of people. And it's like, oh, well, Hayden, you golf at the nicest golf course in Puerto Rico. Sure, it's $150, $200 versus 40. But the last time I was there solo, I ended up joining a group of 5 guys. One of them has a $14 million house on the golf course, is easily worth tens and tens of millions of dollars. The other guy's like some big optometrist doctor or whatever. Like, these guys can and probably will invest into my real estate deals. And they're good friends of mine now that I golf with. They're locals, and they can introduce me to their whole network. So it's like, it's where you are and who you're meeting. I'll spend money on that.
Love it.
So
love it. Dude, I'm the same way, man. I like to spend money on experiences. I have no problem spending money on nice houses, though. Like the best properties in the best areas, the best settings.
For sure.
I have no problem doing that.
Dude, that's your environment. You can't play around. That's not a joke. That's your environment, especially whole different level when you have a family. That's like a completely different level. So.
And then dude, I have the Wrangler. I love the friggin' Wrangler. I
Jeep.
love it, man. I love my Jeep. I love driving it. I hit curbs nonstop, and it doesn't like
go on the sand with it, take it on the beach.
throw the off the axle or anything. I don't have to deal with any of that stuff. It's just like you cruise around, and it's totally fun. And
if it catches on fire,
I'll buy another one, dude. You know, that's why we got invented insurance. You know, like so I don't need to worry about any of that stuff. I know that if I was driving a Lambo or a Ferrari, like, dude, I'd love to have one, but I wouldn't get as much value out of it that I think some other people do of owning something like that. And like I said, dude, I would hit a friggin' curb and ruin a tire and cost me $15,000, and I'd be super pissed. So it's just there's a sense of peace of mind of not having to worry about any of that kind of stuff by having the Jeep. And that to me is worth more than I don't know, the whatever.
Yeah, no, I mean, I get what you mean. The
experience of owning it, or
the second day I had the Lamborghini, I was doing donuts in the desert, in the middle of the dirt, fucking like and because I'm going to use the car. I'm not going to destroy it, but I'm going to use it in a way that most people probably wouldn't. I'm drifting corners, I'm messing around, like, I can play with the car.
That's cool.
So for me, that's a fun thing, but I got my money's worth out of that car in a 5-minute window when I got to take my friend's young son for a ride. Money's worth right there. And so
that's awesome.
It's about letting other
gets
people
them excited, gets them. You see the eyes pop open.
I'll show you the picture of it. It was so cute.
But, so why real estate? What other investments did you look at? Are you in crypto? Are you in NFTs? Are you in the stock market? Are you in anything else that you've looked at investing in? And then why did you land on real estate heavily from your e-commerce? Redeployment of the capital there.
Absolutely. When I was younger, I always saw people. The coolest people to me were the people who owned parking garages and self-storage. I don't know what it was, but those just looked so cool. And so I'd always kind of had some sort of interest in real estate, but for me, it's like, I like to touch it, I like to feel it, I like the predictability, and I'm more than willing to lower my potential upside to almost eliminate my risk. To me, it makes sense. I can make cash other ways. I don't need the most risky, volatile investment. I don't want the headache, right? So I've dabbled in crypto. It was really just screwing around for a YouTube video. I said, for every like this gets, I'll go buy $1 of whatever stupid shitcoin that popped up, and some, bought like 10 grand, and whatever happened. But I've played around there. The only other like actual investment vehicle that I've used is stocks. A little bit of ETFs with Vanguard. But when COVID hit, this was early April, as it was really starting to hit, most of the stocks had dropped 50%. That's when I went in and dumped 100-something grand, mostly Tesla, a little bit of Delta, Virgin Galactic, and had I held that 100 would be 1.5 right now.
I was going to say, dude, I mean, Tesla alone's gone up, what, 700% in the past couple of years, or more.
So, I just saw an opportunity. I threw in money. I pulled it out quick. I made like 20 grand total in a month or 2 months. But I only took the money out because I was using it for another opportunity inside my business, which was one of my biggest failures, crashed and burned, taken over. I got completely scammed by 2 of my business partners, but that was a great learning experience. And so, for me, real estate was just, it was the stability, it was the tax benefits, the predictability. You get a tenant in there, they're signing a lease, maybe you have to deal with an eviction. I've had one, but I was buying good properties, really good locations, getting paid down. It's just, you're just slowly adding to it. And so it just made sense to me. And so I started buying in Arizona, which was, is now blown up. it's crazy.
Yeah. No, dude, I know your property there has gone up in value big time, and you got a ton of equity in there.
For sure.
Something you mentioned before, I want to hit on this. There's been a few relationships in your life. Your buddy that you moved into, the apartment with, locked you out. This business partnership that foiled and went south. What do you think? Because here's, when we first met, I thought you were like 30 some years old, right? And you're 22, and so I can't imagine being where you are at 22 with the amount of money you've made, access to capital, business insights that you have. Like, dude, you have the world by the balls right now, man.
Appreciate that. I don't know how true it is.
But there's things that I'm noticing, like a lot of things that come with wisdom too, right? Of like I'm 36, and I'm like, dude, how did you get in that business partnership, dude, and let these guys scam you? And how did this happen to you? And like that doesn't happen to me anymore.
It was my fault.
But bro, it happened to me all the time until I was like 30 years old, right? Yeah. Like it was bad business partnership. Some shitbag that I partnered up with on a joint venture thing ripped me off. The contractor ripped me off. Like this guy ripped me off. Like, dude, I got ripped off over and over again. And I think you have to go through a lot of those relationships in order, like, just better read people, or like later on.
You can study it all you want, read all the books. I've done the stuff on psychology. I find it very interesting. Dr. David Buss is one of my favorites, and yeah, you can dissect that, but you're still going to go through it.
Yeah.
And so people were like, why don't you sue him and this and that? And I was like, you guys, like I wasn't mad, and I lost like most of what I had, and it was bad. It was brutal, and I got completely taken advantage of it. At the same time, one of them stole a car out of my garage, drove it back home to New York, like $55,000 car gone. Sold it to a chop shop to pay his IRS bill. Like there's a whole story. And so,
but what do you do? You throw good money after bad? You know?
I knew he had no money, so what are you going to sue him for?
Yeah.
And it was my fault. It was my fault, 100%.
Yeah.
And, girlfriend at the time didn't like me saying that. People were like, what are you talking about? And I was like, I wasn't watching it like I should have been. I wasn't the leader I should have been. I was not the boss, even though we were kind of partners. It was me funding everything. We had a negative run rate of $10,000 a day for multiple months, just burning cash, getting stuff started. We had launched 26 different e-commerce brands in about 3 months. A lot of them were working, a lot of them weren't. It was just sucking capital, and it was just too much horizontally. I wanted to scale horizontally. I rented a house for $5,500 a month, signed a lease, got an office, got all this stuff, multiple employees. It was the first time having payroll, and we went wide way too fast.
Yep.
And it would have worked had I had the right people with the right structure. I mean, I had stopped my other business completely, so I had no new cash coming in really, and I lost almost $1 million in 6 months. And so it was 100% my fault, and I'm so grateful for the lesson, because imagine if that happened when I'm 35 with more capital and other people
with $100 million. Because that's
Exactly.
exactly where you're going to be in the next 13, 15 years, dude. So it's way better to do that
100%.
with $1 million. $1 million, that's a big chunk of change. And so I fortunately lost money a much smaller amount. But dude, you have to go through that stuff. You don't learn unless you go through that stuff. In your career, And
Dude, it's what keeps it interesting and dare I say fun. It's like just learning from that and looking back on it. Like, it was a fantastic time, seeing how I reacted to it. What my emotional stability was, and a couple of my friends always point out, like, I'm so calm and stable when things happen. Just the other week, literally 7 days ago, 8 days ago, one of my TikTok ad accounts was hacked. So somebody got in there and launched ads to their link on their store, and they scheduled $100,000 a day to be spent. This is last Thursday. Right, I was golfing. I don't know why I was golfing on a Thursday, my fault, but it cost me $42,000. That's how much the ad spent before I caught it. So it cost me $42,000 directly out of pocket. Well, I can get that back through dispute charges and stuff, but now because I reported all that, they shut my advertising account down doing a whole review. That's been down for 7 days. I was in the middle of scaling a brand new e-commerce store. I'd gone from $2,000 a day 30 days ago to $15,000 a day. I was making $4 to $5 grand in profit every day. That's now been wiped out for the last 7 days with no end in sight. So it's like, what's the cost there? And so these things happen, and I casually told one of my friends, he's like, dude, why are you so calm?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, it happened already. Number one, let's address that. So what can we learn from it? What can we do to stop it from happening again? And how do you react? What, you can get mad at it?
Yeah.
You're not a kid. You're
Dude,
not a child.
That poison sits inside you. It doesn't like go anywhere else, and it just eats you up personally.
I made a TikTok about it, 300,000 views. So it's like, find the win, find the good situation. So
dude, it's powerful, man. So you got a lot of good stuff going on, man. I love the e-commerce stuff. By the way, I need to sit you down with Burton because you guys both know marketing, or he's working on a lot of marketing stuff.
I've helped him out with a few Facebook things for you guys.
Awesome, awesome.
Some
cool.
small stuff, yeah.
That's just a little side note.
Great guy, yeah.
Dude, he lives like right over here.
Yeah, she was talking about that.
Yeah, we got to connect you. So I want to talk about the real estate stuff. So
sure.
You own a couple of properties out in Arizona, looking to go heavy into the apartment type stuff.
Yeah.
And you know, as I'm selling off a portion of my properties, you know, this one 48 unit apartment complex that you just contracted, I got a partner in it. He wants to sell it. I'm a minority interest in it, but was able to bring you in and say, hey, why don't you come in? So you contracted that, and gonna have 48 units under your door, or under your portfolio of ownership. You only have a few other properties at this time, right?
I have 3 single family homes, 2 fourplexes, a 6, a 3.
Oh, okay.
So I got like
and
20
you've
something.
transacted some stuff, right?
Yeah, I've done a little. I've wanted to learn the process. I'm in the middle of a flip. I didn't want to sell a property, but I wanted to learn a 1031, so I sold it just to learn that. So I've like tried to kind of hit every angle, just to get the experience. But over time, it's gone from single family homes to a duplex, 4s, and then 6. Like I'm making that progression because I see more opportunity there. So, you know, I had an 88 unit under contract towards the end of last year. It didn't work out for a few reasons, which kind of upset me. You know, I didn't want that to happen again. So I made sure I, you know, got connected with the right people. Number one, you've been a huge help. Thank you. And just made sure that that will not happen again. So now that we're doing the property, as long as everything checks out and it fits our criteria, I'm closing on it. There's no situation where I'm not. Now, you told me I can only fund 10% of it to make it a challenge.
You're not allowed to. I'm putting a constraint on you.
Which is good.
Like, you can downstroke the entire down payment, but I don't want you to do that. It's way better for you long term if you go and raise the money. So I'm going to come in as a limited partner for a couple bucks on this thing.
Just like I did with one of yours.
Just like you did. Yeah, dude, but that's what you do, man. You invest your money in other people's projects, and you borrow money for your own projects. And you're like, why would you ever do that? Because it keeps you sharp. It keeps you sharpening the pencil all the time, to the point where, or sharpening your axe, I guess, all the time, where it doesn't matter how much money you have, you will eventually run out.
100%.
Right? And so the next deal that you end up taking down, that's 100, 200 doors, and you have to go out and raise $5 million. Dude, if you haven't done it on a $1.5 million raise, then how the hell are you going to do it on a $4.5 million raise? You know, so it's like, dude, it's building the muscles, right? It's exercising and growing organically. But it's awesome that you're able to like jump into these projects. And
I think that's a really important point. Like
stuff.
You guys, Tim told me, like it was a month ago, if that. He's like, I was talking about all these properties. He's like, you're not allowed to fund more than 10% because I could come in for a good chunk. I got 2 other friends that could fill the rest. Boom, you're done. So like that's a couple text messages and now it's done. But that's not the best way to reach as many people as possible. You'd rather have a bunch of individualized investors and just give a win, a smaller victory to way more people, so that as you're raising for a bigger project, it's easier.
It builds the relationships, for sure. You know? So now somebody brings in $70,000 or $100,000 into your deal, it's an easy conversation to be like, hey, this one's going great, we're 6 months down the road, you've gotten a couple of payments, everything's 95% occupied, and everything's going great on this property. Hey, I had another one, right? And then they say, hey, listen, that one's going so well, I'm gonna bring $250 for the next one, because I feel good about it, feel good about you, you've done everything that you said you were gonna do. And it works their muscles of confidence in you, based on you performing, right? And so like it builds a greater community for you to go and raise more capital from and help more people get involved in your projects, and allows you to get in bigger deals because now you can raise more money, right?
Yeah, and I mean, I'm a systems guy through and through, so that's what I've done in the business structure, and you know, I don't need to work a ton to support that, and I can just put the right people in place to build a good system that is consistent. I hate volatility, just like in the business, and so it's the same thing with this project. It's a very stable asset already. It's going to be really nice, consistent cash flow.
Was it 96% occupied?
Yeah, so it's like 2 vacant units, and so there's a pretty easy rental upside. So there's the value add, since we're not needing to turn over all these units. You know,
all construction risk is off the table.
Everything's done. So
it's totally leased up, but there's still room to bump rents.
Exactly. So it's like it's what I call, it's a boring project. It's boring, which is good. And in my opinion, it's really good for the first time doing this with investors, because it's so much less risk, maybe less upside, but you get a huge value add upside. And so, you know, as I've done this, like, it's just something I've never done with other people's capital, but I pay very close attention to detail, and I build the system. So I'm not worried about doing that. I'd buy this on my own. But it's like, okay, now how can, instead of me buying 100% of it and now I'm out of money,
How
can I put 10% in and go do this 10 times with a bunch of other people?
Yep.
It just makes more sense.
Yep.
So.
I'm excited for it, man. I'm excited for you to like go through the process.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden walk around with your chest out a little bit more, a little bit more puffed up, and say, hey, let's go take down 150 units next, man. I'm excited.
Yeah.
It's going to be awesome.
The bigger the better.
I love it. I love it. So what does the next 24 to 36 months look like for you?
Yeah, so I'm splitting time right now basically between Puerto Rico and Arizona. Some other travels mixed in there. It's just going to be consistently optimizing the business. We're seeing good growth, probably grow 75% in the business this year, which is really good. So on pace for that. Been putting a lot more attention onto it now that I'm in Puerto Rico, taking advantage of the taxes there. So using that to then just get more capital to drive the real estate vehicle. Yeah, so it's just consistent business growth and then focused on dialing that in so that I can reinvest it back into the real estate. Like for me, I don't need a ton of new capital in the business. And so most of that I can take out as a distribution and send back to myself here in the States and invest with it. So, the goal this year is 100 units, and then I've just been trying to double every year. So, first I went from like 3 to 8 to 20, and now it's like, okay, we're gonna go from 20 to 100, we see a big jump, and then let's get a couple hundred units next year. So now it's just, let's just build a network of investors who want stable returns. I don't focus on, new construction, while that is a great opportunity. I also don't buy the crazy compressed cap rates. I'm in the middle. I want something where there's like value add upside because I want to grow my equity. I'm not buying stuff in the Midwest that's cash flowing 25% with no equity increase. It just doesn't interest me. So I want to grow the equity while getting paid. That's the most important thing to me, and just grow the portfolio. I mean, I think it shouldn't be too difficult to go to 1,000 doors in the next 3 years.
I think you're 100% on pace for that.
Scalability. And so, even with my network, I can do something good there. And starting a real estate YouTube channel. I have one of the biggest YouTube channels in the e-commerce space. Got about 260-something thousand people in there. And a lot of those people are operators who don't really invest much. They might put it back in the business, but a lot of them are the cars and the clothes and the watches and the trips kind of people, which is totally fine. I mean, if you're able to make money, do whatever you want.
Help them buy more of it, man. Hey, let them invest with you, and then the dividends can pay for the payments on those things.
Yeah, it's logic.
Yeah.
But not as sexy. Some people don't like it. So, everybody's got a season in their life where maybe they're trying to get more serious long term, and so, we've all been there.
I love it, man. I love it. Well, dude, I'm excited. I'm excited for the Legacy Wealth Academy Masterclass to come out too.
Appreciate you inviting me on that. That'll be a lot of fun.
It's going to be awesome. We're going to take this deal down. If you guys have interest in coming in on that project, I'm going to be a limited partner. I'm going to throw some money at it. I know Hayden's putting some money in of his own, which is always makes you feel more confident. But I told him he's there's a constraint in place. He's not allowed to invest more than 10%.
So guys, it's not because I don't want to. It's because of Tim.
Yeah, and then several other entrepreneurs and stuff throwing money in.
We'll do like probably, if I had to guess, 15 people. We're raising 1.4. We're taking chunks of 70. That's the increments. So it's 5%. So 70, 140, etc. It'll be nice and steady. We'll do quarterly distributions, 6% pref, 50-50 above that, and we're raising for half the equity. So nice and simple.
Love it. So simple, man. And it's a good deal, right? All construction risk off the table. It's fully leased up, but because a lot of the leasing had to happen right after the renovations were done, rents are lower than what they should be. And then obviously you're seeing 8 to 10% year over year inflation. So the best thing that tracks inflation is rental real estate.
Well, so that's going to continue to rise too. With the inflation, it's like, okay, if they're jacking up rates right now, so that might push things down, but then the cash flow you're getting is actually worth something because the cash is valuable. And if it goes the other way, where okay, prices just keep going through the roof, well, great, because now our assets inflating beyond what that rate is. You're protected in either situation. So that's why I like it, and that's a huge reason why I went in on the island with you. A little bit of different diversity, plus there's utility to it. It's just awesome.
I love it, man. I love it.
Looking forward to it.
Well, brother, appreciate you being here, man. Always fun to hang out. And I can't wait to see what the next 36 months look like for you.
Hey, for you too. You're about to scale. Looking forward to it.
Dude, amazing information from Hayden. Like, for somebody who's 22 years old, the guy's got so much wisdom to share. And so hopefully you guys got some really good takeaways. Put it in the comments below. Give me what your biggest takeaway was. If you have some interest in investing in his 48-unit apartment complex, we'll share his contact information. Reach out to him. He's a great follow on social media, is always leading with value with all of his content. And definitely connect with him. And so if you got some value out of this, please give me a like, put a comment below, share this video with somebody else who would get some value out of it. And until next time, I'll see you guys on Spill the Beans.